When your parents come to a country and you're a migrant family, the first thing is about education. For them is the key to everything. It represents security and safety, some kind of certainty for your future. And I didn't go to university. We were estranged for about 5 years. You've got to be all in. I went back to work when my daughter was 8 weeks old.
Marisa Fong, she co-founded Madison Recruitment, a New Zealand-based HR company, grew it to 100 staff and sold it for millions.
We looked big, even when we weren't.
How did you look big?
Just having serious-sized ads. In the day, in the newspaper, you would have these things called run-on, but we had just what we call display ads. We would always try and get display ads which had our logo on it, right? And we'd always try to, get the client to pay for it as well. And so we would say, oh, you need a bigger ad, or whatever. And obviously we did it appropriately for the job required it. But we made ourselves stand out. It just became this zone of genius for us as a business. We were just so good at it. You can be really profitable and be insolvent, and that's where we see people go under. Cash is oxygen. We had the yellow pages, and we would just literally call through the yellow pages. You're helped now by things that we didn't have. You could be the world's best kept secret, and that's pointless. You've actually got to sell. Some businesses, they'll never be saleable because the business value is linked to the founder, and that's fine as long as the founder's happy with that. But if you want to grow something, you need to have a look at your commercial model.
How did you know the product market fit?
But you don't always know to begin with.
Quick one. Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay. Back to the episode. Marisa, it's so inspiring to have you on the podcast. And I've been looking you up. We were just chatting before we recorded, thinking about the era that you've come from at a time when technology wasn't so big. Hard work was definitely the key. And, a lot of sweat, blood and tears, I suppose, went into getting you to be where you are today. We've played a little trailer for people to get to know who you are. But we would love to know from you directly, what is the oven that you got cooked in that shaped you who you are today?
So interesting you should ask about that, because my mother is very much my inspiration. And she had a very difficult childhood, and so I say that I'm made in Hong Kong but born in New Zealand. She arrived 7 months pregnant, barely spoke English that well and had no real network here, but she proceeded to create a life for her family with her, obviously with my dad as well. But I think she was unusual in as much as in that time, her focus was so much on building prosperity and wealth for her family because of where she'd come from. So her drive was very high. So we had that modelling of work ethic in the home, always. And it never let up until they finally retired in I want to say they tried retiring in their 40s because they'd actually done very well by then, and but then they went back to work because of other family reasons and ended up retiring in their 50s. So quite young in that sense that you would think of retiring, but when I think about how long they'd been working for, and it's not the typical, I started working when I was in my, early 20s. She'd been working her whole life. And so that's the oven I was baked in. That's the kind of modelling I had. Just really smart, hard work, and as the oldest of 5, also relied upon to also carry that out as the sort of almost second mother. I was the second mother because I'm the oldest of 5, and so that responsibility fell on me.
I love how that you've never been to university.
Yeah.
Especially in the oven that you got cooked in. Tell us why that's really abnormal.
Well, of course, culturally, when your parents come to a country and you're a migrant family, the first thing is about education. And education for them is the key to everything. It represents security and safety and represents some kind of certainty for your future. And so getting a degree or being a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or something like that then somehow equated some assurance that you were going to be okay, right? So for your oldest child not to do that is quite confronting. And so the thing about my mother being so fiercely independent and so smart, she then unfortunately didn't realise she was imbuing those kind of characteristics into her oldest daughter. And so, of course, I'm fiercely independent now and fiercely, all the things that she wanted to do, which was forge her own way, well, that she instilled in me. And so when I didn't go to university and they didn't like that, then I said, well, okay, I'll just go and do my own thing then. And so we were estranged for about 5 years, actually, during that period, because it was such an obstacle for them to get past, that their oldest child was not going to university, and what kind of role model was I to the rest of the family. So, yeah.
What about your other siblings? Did they end up going to university?
Oh, yeah, all of them did.
Yep.
So they all went. So luckily, my parents didn't have to worry about the fact that I was a failure of a role model. Both my sisters, one sister was a Bachelor of Finance and Accounting, one had Finance and Marketing. My brother's an anaesthetist now, so he was a doctor. His children are all lawyers, doctors, or something on the way to being something like that. My other brother is a lawyer, and he's got his own law practice in Sydney. So, they all did the right things. I'm the only one that didn't.
Yes. And were you happy that you didn't?
I feel there was a time in my life when I felt like maybe I had some regret about that. And actually, when I was at Madison, I looked at doing an MBA. And I remember going to talk to I can't remember what his name was, that was sort of the facilitator and registrar for MBA students. And I asked him about it, and he said, you know that people do MBAs so they can achieve what you've achieved? I went, oh. And he went, so why would you need to do it? And I went, oh, okay. He said, I just think it's really not necessary now. You've lived the MBA. And I went, okay, right. So I guess I've come to peace with that, because on the one hand, although I'm pleased I didn't kind of waste time and money, the other thing is sometimes there was a credibility gap that you felt in your own mind, and that was possibly more a confidence issue. However, I've got over that now.
I love that. So how long did it take, do you think, in your case, to have earned that MBA, like lived an MBA?
Probably once we exited the business, and going through creating a business, scaling it, and then exiting is actually, I think, the full journey, right? It's the full thing where you actually have to, the credibility of being able to grow something from just 2 women in a small room to actually 100 staff, significant turnover. I feel like that really, once we sold and we got a lot of the feedback and kudos from people saying, well, that's an amazing achievement, then I think, oh yeah, okay, tick a box.
You were saying one of the biggest decisions that you'll ever make is to pick your partner in life.
Yes.
Your husband, your wife,
whatever.
Because they're going to be your cheerleader.
Yeah. And I think about this a lot, because actually it was very unusual in the day that my husband had to step back from his career, and it was really hard to explain to other people. And even my family and his friends and everything just didn't really get that he was going to now be the primary caregiver. And it wasn't normal. And so it was, he would go and pick up my daughter from school and drop her off at school and all this kind of thing. And I remember that 1 or 2 times that I did it when he wasn't around or there, the mothers would look at me and ask who I was. Because my daughter doesn't look very Asian. She's half European and half Chinese, so she doesn't look very Asian. So of course I think they thought I was the nanny, a very well dressed nanny, but the nanny. So it was kind of weird, but they really loved him, because he was so unusual, and he got very involved in the school, and he was helping with fundraising and all those kinds of things. But that was unusual, and But I think that actually it was really beneficial for my daughter as well to have her father as the primary caregiver, because fathers parent differently to mothers, and that was a good thing.
So finding the right partner, we were talking about that before we were filming. It is such an important thing. Can you please give us some tips? Because we're going to get into the co-founding in a minute, down the line. But in terms of partner, like just general life experience?
Look, honestly, I just got lucky. There was no, I didn't put him through an assessment or a test or a psychometric evaluation. But I do think that the first thing I would say is you've got to know yourself. Like, who am I? What do I want out of life? What matters to me? And what kind of life do I want to live? And if that's the kind of life I want to live, who is the person that needs to come and live that life with me? What kind of person needs to be beside me, to support me, and to have the same aspirations and values that I have? Because if you don't know what that is for yourself, it's really hard then to work out what it is you need in the other person.
And so you knew what those were?
Not at that time. I mean, when we met, we were only 23.
Gosh, that's
so
young.
that was really young. I mean,
Yeah.
how would you even think of these things
Exactly.
at that age,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I think most young people are actually ahead of the curve of where we were, because all these
Yeah.
things about personal values are much more of a conversation now than they were in my day.
Yeah.
So there is an opportunity now for young people to actually work that out for themselves and say, okay, what matters to me? What kind of values do I hold dear? Is it family really important to me? Is, building a wealth and portfolio, whatever, or being in business, what are the things that are important to me? Or actually, I don't care about those things, the things that are most important to me is just a very happy, kind of less pressured life. And, we don't want to be in the country or live in the country, You imagine being with a partner that would be the worst absolute nightmare of their lives, living in a rural kind of setting. And you're like, yeah, but I want that. So then, you just got to know yourself.
We know that you have co-founded and exited Madison Recruitment, and you were talking about how it's a successful company that we built from scratch in 15 years. And you were proud of it. What is it that you're proud of?
Well, firstly, that 2 women did it. I think that actually, there are women-owned businesses in recruitment, and typically they get, and I say this, it was interesting because back in even that day, saying they typically get to about 10 to 15 people, and then that's it. They don't get any bigger.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because maybe, look, I'm speculating, but maybe it's the fact that the time pressure or the pressure to be so much more involved in the business is that it takes too much out of your life. It costs you too much, particularly if you don't have that supportive husband, because my husband wasn't chasing a corporate career. He wasn't trying to build his own business as well. So if you have 2 of you on that track, then who sacrifices, who compromises, And the other thing that I think is that I'd come from a big corporate background, so I knew how to sell and win big contracts. And I think if you've never done that before, you can just think more in a boutique mindset. And so you just do smaller revenue, you think smaller, you don't think bigger. And I love this. Know that.
I love this. Can we please pause right here and zone in on that, because that was gold. Because that mindset, can you delve into that more if someone who hasn't got a corporate experience and doesn't have that contract landing, can you please help us or teach whoever's listening, how can you do that?
I think the thing is that I think about the effort required to deliver to small business is the same as if you're delivering to big business. It might be the channel or the way you do it is different, but the energy required to win business is the same. The delivery might be different, okay? So when you're thinking about scale and you're thinking about how will you get bigger, if you work with bigger businesses and you model your business and your systems that you can actually deliver to those bigger businesses, you get growth. And what do those bigger businesses want? How do we, what's the mindset around it? The mindset is actually, it's as much effort and energy.
It's the same effort and energy.
It's the same effort and energy as if you were delivering to small business. The only thing I would say is that you need to have the liquidity or the cash in the business to service bigger business, okay? So because they'll want more, the volume might be greater, you might need more resource in your business, more people, more systems, better tech, whatever it is, you need to be able to afford to put that in place so that you deliver well.
Is that what happened for you at Madison?
Yeah, we just and we were really good because we grew out of our own cash. We didn't need to take on debt, and that was very good cash management. And it was because we had a really clever person in our finance department that we actually got prepaid for our temporary staffing before we had to pay our temps. So if you think about payrolling and you think about temporary staff, you have to pay them weekly or fortnightly, whatever the arrangement is. Typically it's weekly. And they finish work on a Friday. The following Monday, you're processing all their timesheets, and they want to be paid the next Friday. So what we did was we negotiated with a lot of our contracts that if they paid us on the Wednesday or the Thursday before we had to pay the temps, we didn't have to then go and get huge overdrafts to fund the payrolling because we were getting paid beforehand. And so that's how we used our cash to grow because we didn't need to get debt. So it was a really very clever mechanism. But whatever business you're in, you need to be able to forecast your cash requirements. And I think here's the thing about business. You can be really profitable and be insolvent. And that's where we see people go under, because on paper they look profitable, but there's got no cash in the business. And cash is oxygen.
Yeah, cash is king.
Yeah, totally.
I want to step back a little bit now and talk about the starting or startup phase of Madison. People talk about product market fit or market product fit.
Yes.
The other way around.
Yes.
You didn't have a product, you had a service. And it's a service that a lot of people offered.
Yes.
How did you know the product market fit, and what were you thinking at the time?
It's really interesting because I've learnt this even with Reamped that I'm working with in my business at the moment, is that you don't always know to begin with, and I think it takes time. It takes probably 12 to 18 months before you're really clear. The first 12 months, you're just out there to get revenue. You're really just there to try and build your brand. And you might think you've got a position, but it doesn't really become clear until you've been in business for about a year. So, because you're testing all the time and you're talking to different people. And when we first started, we were this, priding ourselves on being New Zealand owned. We were, female led. One of the key differentiators we used was this idea that we would psychometric assess all of the candidates that ever walked through the door, so that we had a better view of their ability, their cognitive ability, and their numeracy and literacy ability, so that we could better place higher caliber candidates.
And that wasn't being done.
And that wasn't normal back in the day.
Okay.
And so that was the first differentiator we used as a way of getting our foot in the door, right?
Gotcha.
But what actually happened was, because we had come from this big global, and one of lots of the type of contracts that I was winning was all around call center recruitment, and they were looking for lots of high volume numbers to start on a certain date. So we became known as the high volume recruiters that could deliver, 50 people to start in 3 weeks' time that were all going to be high caliber and could do the job. And that was quite unusual and difficult to do back then. And so we had a system, we created IP about how we did that, and we just grew because of that. They were either permanent placements or temporary placements. And so it just became this zone of genius for us as a business. We were just so good at it.
If you didn't have that experience in the corporate sector, knowing how to win contracts and how to hire mass, do you think you would have been able to get that done in your business?
It would have been a different business. You see businesses now and they're trying to grow is, we'll do IT recruitment as well as finance and accounting, and we'll do sales and marketing. So they're trying to cover the various fields and say we're a one-stop shop for everything, right? The problem with that, of course, is everybody's looking for specialists. They're looking for niche. And so how do you overcome that? I think the recruitment industry is changing a lot, and it's particularly under stress now with AI coming down the pipe, and what does a business look like today? So I think the business of today will be very different. If you started something today, will be very different to how we started it in 1998.
Gosh, that sounds like forever ago.
I know. There are people who are turning 21 and they're in their 2000s, born in their 2000s. I'm like, what? So, yeah, it blows my mind.
Yes,
but, yeah, it was a very different era, and we were very innovative in our time. We used very, back then, sophisticated systems, but you look at those now and that just is interesting. Yeah.
And the system that you used back in the day that was innovative was what?
So we tailored a CRM that was specifically built for recruitment industry, but we actually had an in-house tech guy who learned it backwards and forwards and then customized it to suit us. Plus we did things like online timesheeting, which was, so you didn't have to use paper timesheets because we had too many people out working in one site for, one hiring manager to be sitting there, signing off 50 people's timesheets. It was like, no, we're not going to make you do that. So we were clever in doing those sorts of things. How did we make our customers' lives better and easier? And that our customers were two people, the candidates and the hiring managers,
Got
right?
you. Yeah.
So how do we make the experiences better? And we were always looking at how we could improve, how could we make things more efficient, how could we make it easier.
And you worked with a co-founder.
Yes.
Please tell me the story about your how did you find each other? How did you know this person is going to be the one who's going to help you build this fantastic business? And give us some lived-in experience about that.
Yeah. Well, we worked together at the previous company. So
Gotcha.
I'd been working there for quite a while. Actually, my immediate boss went away on holiday. She was the country manager. And while she was away, I needed to hire a new consultant. And Winner supplied, and she was just so charming and so great. And I really liked her. So hired her, and then she obviously was so amazing at the job, and then we became colleagues and peers, and we got on really well. I wasn't happy in the business that I was in. The culture wasn't great at that point in time, and her and I went away on a leadership kind of camp thing with the other leadership team of the company, and it was a disastrous thing. It was terrible. But what we liked about it was we really got to know each other. And it was really interesting because in really trying circumstances, because it was pouring with rain, it was a terrible weather, and we were camping. Oh my God, it was the worst thing ever. Anyway, we just decided we were just going to have fun with it and laughed and just had such a great time. And then I think that's when we decided we had the same value sets. We understood about hard work. We understood that things had to be fun, but we all also were very driven and aspirational. So then we decided, let's just go out and start our own thing and do the opposite of what's happening here, because it was just horrific where we were. Staff turnover was high, and I was out there selling and winning things, and then having to go back and apologise because the delivery was so crap. So it was awful, I was going, oh no, I don't believe in the company anymore.
Yeah.
I can't in all good faith go out and keep selling winning contracts, and we're letting people down.
That's the hardest part, when you are excellent in a place that is not quite excellent.
Yes.
And you wish things would be different. And how can you be, you want to add value and you want to make the workplace excellent, but no one listens, or your voice is, I don't know.
I think it's a really interesting thing too about culture. If you look at culture as a company culture, and back then, of course, company culture wasn't something anyone really talked about.
No, right?
It was something that's a lot more popular now. People still, but even now, I think people pay lip service to it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think actually people really understand the difference of a good company culture versus a toxic one.
What's a good company culture versus a toxic one?
Something I've learnt in the last few years, which is a term called psychological safety, right? And so people have to feel safe where they are, have to feel that they are listened to, that they can say things that are honest and not be penalised for it. And really, the company has to understand what are the things that matter to us as a company. What are our values as a company? Because whatever those are, you'll attract the same people that believe in that and want to be. Because what we saw was that our culture was very about, delivering excellence to our customers, be they candidates or clients. And so that meant we'd do whatever it took, right? Some people didn't like that. Some people were like, no, I don't, I want to go home at, whatever, or I won't come in the weekend and do, the odd thing just to make sure things run smoothly. And they just didn't fit. And it was really interesting. And I think about the company that I left to start, we left to start our business. If they'd had a really great company culture, I'd never have left.
Right.
You think about that. And
if you're happy there, why would you leave?
Why would you leave?
You're getting paid well, you're doing your job.
Yeah.
You're winning stuff.
And you're doing well and you're being rewarded well. Why would you, keep doing it? Why would you think about going?
Yeah. Quickly, AI is here and it's disrupting all of us, disrupting our work, our play, and our businesses. You either learn about it and know how to apply, or you get left behind. Simple as that. So my friends at Academy X are running 10-week masterclass called Disruptive Technologies. It is going to teach you how to use AI and tech to shape your future and to walk away with skills that you can use immediately at work. And this is so important to stay ahead of the curve, something that we talk about a lot on the show. So why wait? Click the link in the description and sign up. The course begins August 19th. Okay, back to the episode. When you were early in the day starting out, and you mentioned, when you're starting out, all you need to do is just get into the market and make revenue and learn about what you're offering when no one knows your name.
Yes.
How did you make it? How did you get people to buy into you?
So that's interesting, and I think it's different because I did have a reputation, and so did Winners. We had done really well in the industry through the other company, and having won a lot of contracts, people knew us. So when we left, people were asking where we were, and of course trying to look for us. This is before Google search or anything like that.
Interesting.
And so we just had to put ourselves out there and make sure it was easy for people to find us. And people did find us. And so old clients reconnected, but we were also really diligent and not, doing anything against our restraint of trade and all this sort of thing. So we were very honest about that. We were so good. We had the yellow pages. Wouldn't even know the yellow pages now.
My God.
We had the yellow pages books out, and Winners and I split up the alphabet. And we would just literally call through the yellow pages.
Okay, so cold calling was
calling. We did cold calling. We were not proud to do that. We were not too good to do that.
There's nothing wrong with cold calling.
We were cold calling, and you just ring and say hello and had a spiel ready and just kept going. And we did really well.
Did that work?
That did work. I mean, not, you have to be quite hard-nosed and hard-skinned about it, but we were thick-skinned and we just didn't care. We were proving something, and because we were doing it together, I think that helped, right? But I think if you're new to an industry and then you start something and you have no prior reputation,
I was just going to ask you,
that's a really different proposition. And so, but however, you're helped now by things that we didn't have, right? So LinkedIn video, talking about your area of expertise, putting yourself out there. And interestingly, I was filming a little clip that I'm going to put up later, Mina, about doing a podcast and why am I doing them? And it is brand building. It is profile building. Part of the reason is, right? And so that's what it is getting out of your own way, which is what I call it, and brand building and profile and being the face of your brand and talking about the thing that you really are passionate about and getting yourself known for that. And it's going to take time. So again, I go back to when you plan your business, create your business plan, how long before you think you're going to get revenue and what are your costs? So if it's going to take 6 months before you get significant pieces of work, what are you going to do in those 6 months? You've got to let people know who you are. You've got to go across all the different channels. In this day and age, with all the channels that we now have that you didn't have, what do you see from an entrepreneur mindset that is a good place to start for someone who has got no name to themselves? Be really specific about what your zone of genius is. What is it that you're doing that's so different, and really understand the value you offer your market. Who is your target market? You won't necessarily get that really niche, but in general, who are you trying to serve? What is it that you're offering that's amazing? What do you know that they need from you? And really talk about it. Just talk about that one thing all the time, everywhere you can. And so, for Reamped, it's for me talking about female founders, helping them find out what they don't know about business. Typically females will be really great at something that they do, and so they start a business, and they'll be amazing at the thing they do, but they don't know what they don't know about business. And so that's really the gap I'm filling and my niche now. So I'm really clear on that niche, but it's taken me 18 months too, because when I first started, it was, all female business owners, I'm going to help them scale, I'm going to help them do this. But actually what I've realised is some women are advanced in their journey, so they don't need that. But there are some women who have been in business, maybe it's their first business. The business might be a year old, it might be 20 years old, but it is their first business and they're still working in it and they don't know what they don't know. And it's for me to help them have a better business.
And how is that marketing going for you at the moment for Reamped?
I think it resonates because it's actually really clear. It's really clear who I'm serving and what I'm trying to do. One of the things that I think about women in business is that they're so overwhelmed by just so much stuff being thrown at them, and even in the running of their own business. But there's a sense for them that I know that there's a whole lot of stuff I have to learn out there, but I just don't have the energy or the mental bandwidth or the time to do a 2-day masterclass or attend another webinar or go and read 2 more books or listen to another I'm just trying to do business and run life. So
a lot already.
There's already a lot. So my thing is actually let me do all of that for you. I'm going to go do it, learn it, and then I'm just going to give you the shortcut.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the way, because women are just so overwhelmed, and that's where I see the fix that I can help them with. I'm the fix. I'm just going to tell you what to do. Here's the shortcut. Here's the AI prompt. Here's the thing. You don't need to go and do it or try and work it out. I'm just going to work it out for you.
So you can do any industry, any niche?
No, I think it's across all first-time female founders who have just in their first business. As I say, it could be 20 years old, it could be 1 year old, it's whatever. But the journey is, I know the business could be better. I just don't have the bandwidth to go and try and, do all of this on my own.
I need the done for you kind of.
I need the done for you, the fix it, the shortcut. Just give me the shortcut.
Give me the shortcuts. Going back to Madison with the early days, and then we were talking about marketing and how you were getting in the front page, or not the front page, but the
yellow pages.
The yellow pages.
Yeah.
What else did you do in marketing that was a timeless principle that would still apply today that someone would love to hear about?
I think the thing was as well, we were memorable. So there were websites back then. Still, we did have websites. And we actually were really different back in the day. We actually had all headshots done with all our consultants, got proper professional headshots done. And they all looked amazing. So there was a little joke around for a little while that Madison was not just a recruitment agency, it was also a modelling agency. But, it was hilarious because the girls were great. They were really clever. They were really
well presented,
smart, but they just looked amazing as well because, obviously we had these professional headshots done, hair, makeup and the whole bit. So, but I think we just acted like a big business. So we made sure everything was professional. We took care. We didn't skimp on things. And remember back in the day, we didn't have job websites. We didn't have Seek and Trade Me Jobs and all that kind of thing. All your advertising was in the newspaper. So we made sure that our logo was memorable. We made sure that when we advertised jobs, our logo was there. We would have a lot of jobs being advertised. So it showed some kind of depth and seriousness about the business, that we would pay for advertising in the jobs situations vacant. And that became our profile building channel as well. So where is your audience? Where will they see you and be there and look big? We looked big, even when we weren't. We made sure we looked big.
How did you look big?
Just having serious sized ads,
Like you mean size? Like
size,
you just picked the bigger size.
Big sizes, little ones, but not these tiny. They're in the back in the day in the newspaper. You would have these things called run-ons, which were just the little small ads with no logos. They were just kind of, type and copy.
Yeah.
But we had just what we call display ads. So we would always try and get display ads which had our logo on it, right? And we'd always try to, get the client to pay for it as well. And so we would say, oh, you need a bigger ad, or, whatever. And obviously we did it appropriately if the job required it. But we made it... we made ourselves stand out, and we always refined our logo. We never just were happy with it. If we thought, no, that isn't appropriate now, we changed it to more colourful logo. Then as we expanded our services, we created unique logos for each different channel that we recruited for. So if it was finance or IT, we had a different logo. So we invested in our look and feel. We invested in our website, and we just made ourselves, even our offices, we kept moving offices for the first 5 years because we kept outgrowing them. And so we always made sure that our reception area looked good. We made sure everything looked professional and good. We never skimped. And I think that's the thing about some companies I see is because money is an issue, maybe people don't invest in those sorts of things, but actually the perception of the company is as real as the company itself. And so it was important to be perceived seriously, and that we were a serious company, and that we were here for the long run, right?
The look, very important. The perception. Sometimes perception is going to lead to the reality.
Exactly. So we behaved in a way that and that's what I think about selling to big companies and pitching for government contracts and big contracts. We behaved as though we were a big company, even when we were just the two of us. When we won our first contract to supply in Hamilton 150 data entry temps, processing temps, and we were 3 people. So we thought, better open a Hamilton office. Better hire some people quickly. And we did.
Did you? Did you have to have a physical office back in the day?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
You had to have that?
Yeah.
There was no such thing as working from home?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I still believe in that. I still believe in physical offices for some businesses. I still think that that's important. But yeah, in that day we definitely did. Yeah, because we had to recruit and meet all these people. We had to have somewhere for our people to work from.
Yeah.
No one was going to interview hundreds of people from their house.
Yeah,
And we had to have assessments done. So we needed
and there was no video calls at the time.
No video calls.
So
none of
all
that.
in person.
And all in person.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's so much more tedious, isn't it?
Oh yeah, a different era.
Yeah,
definitely.
We are living in a different era, aren't we?
Very much so.
Well, would you go back and restart a recruitment company now?
It's so interesting you say that, because I get approached all the time, right?
Do you?
And
by who?
Oh, lots of people say, I've got a really good idea for recruitment. We should do this. And I just think, I feel like I've done it. I feel like the way that we did it back then is not the way you would do it now. And I'm speaking to the industry soon, in fact, in about a week's time. And one of my questions will be, if you had a blank sheet of paper today and you were going to start again, what would it look like? Because whatever that looks like is what you should be doing. And I would say that for every industry out there now, whatever you have, if you had a blank sheet of paper and you were to start it again today, with all the tools and tech and AI and all those sorts of things, how would it look?
Because I would think you would still have that excellence, innovation, wanting to do it really, really well. But now you've got you've got
AI agents.
Yeah, you've got the
all
hormonal
of this other stuff,
injection of AIs. Yeah. You're going to go nuts. Why wouldn't you take that opportunity and know what you know from your previous experience and then go and do that again? Perhaps let someone else do it or something like that.
Well, there is an opportunity, and I am talking to someone about it, because he's designed people have asked me about tech and will it affect the industry. And previously I had said, the tech will help us with being good tools, but they'll never replace the actual consultant, right, the person. I would say now that we're close.
Are you?
There is an end-to-end recruitment consultant that is AI and could pretty much do it all. And so my answer has changed, that you might have a high-level person running, liaising with companies and so forth. But the end-to-end recruitment process can now be taken on by this new computer AI
workflow agent.
Pretty much, yeah. It can
so
do
they
everything.
will organize to read their CV. They will organize the meeting with them. They will assess their presentation. They'll
do the interview.
Yeah.
They will do the psychometric assessment. They'll do the long listing. They'll do the short listing. They'll do the screening. They'll do. They will come up with, and then you just do the last interview, and that's it.
Okay.
That's it. And the reference checking, probably could do the reference checking as well. Yeah. All of that. Yeah.
What a switch to your industry in such a short time, like 20 years.
Yeah. Very confronting for the industry. And actually, I'm quite worried for the industry because there are some people there that are still operating from the way that we used to work, and actually even more backwards than that. Actually, people have told me that there are still people using paper timesheets. I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. But no, they still are. And so if you're still doing that, then wow, you're going to be in a world of pain soon,
Well, you are in pain right now.
Yeah, exactly.
If someone else is going to be able to do your job, because, how different are you going to be is there going to be clients that are going to suit you? Like, will clients come to you, or will they go to somebody else who has the technology?
Because it's all about cost of delivery.
Exactly.
Right. So people are the most expensive way to do anything. Okay. So, and our biggest cost was, of course, rent and people. And so every time you scaled, you added more cost to your bottom line. So, of course, you had to then recoup that in, quite a significant way. And so if you think about that and you think about what the client's willing to pay now, and if they know you're using AI, they're like, well, why am I still paying, this much, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for a placement fee? Like, that is just not going to be the way it goes in the future.
Especially for savvy people. Savvy
clients, how do we change the way? Because the pricing structure hasn't changed in the industry.
Has it since your time?
For decades. It's always been a percentage of their person's salary, or their total rent package, or it's a kind of retained fee, and then, this
I know
kind
that
of
some
thing.
people do an hourly fee.
There's been an hour, so that's been the innovation, is we'll just go down to an hourly kind of, chop and change. What is it you need? We'll just pay an hourly rate or charge you an hourly rate. But even that,
what are your
that's
thoughts
still
on
people.
Yeah.
It's still people delivering that, right?
Yeah. But don't you think that's a better way, a more affordable way for people to hire?
It is. It has turned out to be that, because you can sort of chop and change how much, but you're deconstructing the recruitment process. You're saying, oh, well, I'll do this bit for this much money and then this bit for this much money. And if you want the end to end, it's still going to cost you a reasonable amount of money, So it's going to be disrupted. And I'm not sure what the commercial model will be that will actually win out. What will the commercial model be?
A lot of AI.
A lot of AI is, It might be that, for $50,000 a year, I'll look after all your recruitment needs, all your blah, 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 and I just need, 100 of those clients, or, whatever the number is,
Right.
because the companies still want someone to run it, and have the expertise to understand context of the end-to-end recruitment, right? But maybe they don't need a recruitment company to do that. They just have an in-house embedded recruitment function, and they are really utilising this end-to-end solution in-house.
I'm fascinated that you were 2 and then you became 100.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exciting.
Oh, yeah, it was big growth.
Were you like, oh my God, I have people working for me and with me? That's crazy. Like, were you pinching yourself?
I think we were so stressed out. I don't know. We were pinching. We were really stressed out.
You had no time to savor what's happening.
I think we did towards the end. I would say the last 3 years we definitely, because we had a really good leadership team in place. We had advisory board helping us, and so we were more relaxed. But getting there was hard.
Yeah.
And I think that was the stressful bit. And I think that when you go through growth, I talk about that horizon. So 0 to 15 is one horizon, 15 to 50 is one.
In terms of revenue?
Growth of people.
15
to 50 head count.
Oh, okay.
And then 50 to upwards, because that 15 to 50 is the bit where you have to start putting in systems in place, because at 15 people, you can just tell each other stuff, right? You could go,
can you? Or don't you need systems from the start?
Well, you need systems, but you can kind of cobble stuff together, and when somebody needs something, you can just shout across the room and go, where's that thing? You know, and you go, oh yeah, it's in this folder, and so you could just go and find it, right?
Gotcha.
But once you get to 15 plus and 50, you can't shout across the room because you've got 3 locations or whatever it is, right? So then you have to have better systems and processes in place that mean that everybody knows where to find the thing and not have to shout across a room or use some clipped on system. But once you get to that size and scale, you need to have really good processes and systems in place. And I think that was the thing that we had to reverse engineer back in.
What does that mean?
Well, a lot of the stuff we had grown, you know, like things like spreadsheets and using lots of spreadsheets for things, and having file management systems. You know, where's the latest version of the application form? Where is that? And having versions labelled, you know, and all this kind of stuff, so people were all using the right version, you know. So there's all of that stuff that you start to reverse engineer, because when you were small it didn't matter, but as you get bigger and more remote locations and other people branch locations, everyone had to be on the same page with stuff, and so you actually, then it becomes a quality issue, right?
Did you enjoy the process? You were talking about values, innovation, fun. You were talking about being stressed as well. And I remember there's a quote that really stuck with me, and I wonder what does that really mean, and how bad is it that you worked like demons? Like, that is such a stark image.
Yep.
And do you have to do that to be really good in business, or I mean, it sounds really hard and scary.
Yeah.
I mean, was it really like that?
Yeah. I don't know if you can be in business. You know, people go, oh, you know, I want to have a balanced life and all this kind of thing. And I go, yeah, sure, you can, once you get to a certain scale.
Gotcha.
I think to get to a certain scale, you've got to be all in. And you know, maybe it's a focus thing. Maybe it's, you know, if you can be all in and be from 9 till 3, but you are 6 hours of incredible focus, maybe that works, right? But sometimes it's just availability to other people, right? Because other people don't finish at 3 o'clock, right? So your staff don't maybe finish at 3 o'clock, and they need you for support or decision making or whatever it is, right? Or access or whatever it is.
Right, yeah.
So I think there's no such thing. You know, if I look at really successful business people, typically they've invested a lot of their time and energy, and there has been some sacrifice. You know, if I think about my family life, you know, I went back to work when my daughter was 8 weeks old, you know, so because, you know, I couldn't just let Winnis, I felt some responsibility to go back and be in partnership with Winnis, and we were working together, so I couldn't just opt out for a year, you know.
Gotcha. So you didn't do that?
No, I didn't do that. And I think about that, and luckily for me, I had a husband who was happy to go and do the, you know, primary caregiving thing, so I didn't feel so much guilt. But there is this trade-off, right? And I don't know many very successful entrepreneurs that haven't done that. You know, if you look at all the entrepreneurial stories, you know, people sleeping on floors in factories, you know, the Mowbrays talk about doing that in China and all this kind of thing. You sort of think, well, there's a window of that you have to commit to that all-in energy and time.
Almost going backwards a little bit.
Yeah, that focus and
is it in the hours? Like in the hours, or is it in the focus? Was it all of the above? Like the 12-hour days, 10-hour days? I know that people spend that long to build something up from scratch.
I think initially maybe because you don't know what you don't know, and so you've got to find out.
Especially if you're doing something really profound and different
and new,
and then if you're pretty much running against time. Because if someone finds out what you're doing and it's good, they might copy you. Yeah,
they might recreate it, and they might work a bit longer and a bit harder and go a bit faster.
Exactly.
But having said that, I said this to somebody else who asked me this question as well. She said, kept saying to her, you need to go faster so that you don't, you have longer runway, otherwise people will copy you.
Yeah.
And I sort of kind of understand that, but I also think...
What's your wisdom on that?
Well, I sort of think you can go slow but go fast as well. So go fast slowly. And what I mean by that,
what does that mean?
I know it's such a weird saying, but there is some sort of sense to that.
There's a real wisdom down there, so I want to unpack that.
Yeah, go fast slowly, because you can go fast and make off-the-cuff decisions, or you can also go fast but be quite intentional about the decision-making. What is the decision-making filter, and whose wisdom can I tap to help me make those decisions quickly but smart, rather than me just rushing around like a headless chook and just making decisions and then not really being very clear about my decisions and why I've made those decisions. I'm just making decisions, Yeah. So, and, this thing about being copied, it's really interesting. How many brands of vanilla biscuits are there? There's a lot, right? There's a lot of different types of chocolate biscuits, or a lot of type of different, but it's all about brand. It's all about the experience and what market you're appealing to and what price point you're appealing to, and are you mass market, are you premium, are you, where are you in the offering? So there's a little bit of truth around not being too slow with your development or whatever the business, but there's also this other thing of whatever someone else is doing, they'll be doing it differently. They'll be delivering it differently. And so that's why I say, if you understand what your business's brand is and who you're appealing to and what specifically the way you do things differently and the experience that they have of you. We were up against global recruitment companies like Kelly's, and there were some others, TMP and Hudson, all these other big ones. And they were all saying that they could do the same thing that we could do. But the issue in the end was that the experience that our clients had with us was really different, even though the offering was the same. The delivery and experience was very different from what they got from Kelly's, because Kelly's was a global recruitment company. They didn't have the kind of budgets, they didn't have the decision making, they didn't have the control that we had, because we were locally owned. The boss could say yes now and invest more, or be more innovative, or whereas Kelly's had a very rigid system. So
Yes. Did you have investors?
No. We were our investors.
Is that still possible today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have to have investors in the business?
Depending on how cash hungry your business is. So, how long is it going to get? How long will it take for your business to get cash in, and that you're kind of covering your costs? So, whatever your operating costs are, how long will it take before you can cover those? So, if it's really cash hungry, so if for every, and you look at your for every dollar I make, what do I invest to make $1? And if it's dollar for dollar, that's hard. Or if it's $1.50 for $1, and then you don't recover that until you grow. So there's many businesses that actually don't make profit.
Yes.
And they don't understand their numbers about how if I make $1, what does it cost me to get that dollar, to acquire that dollar?
Quick one, Mena here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode. In terms of, because you were the belief in yourself, I felt like you have an essence of believing in yourself, and you did talk about that. You believed that you were good enough, and you were talking about the experience between Kelly's and you guys, and people just love the experience with you. Can you give those experiences a name, and what does it look like, or what did it look like? That it really made you so distinct, like different, that people loved. And how can you distill that into a sort of advice for someone listening going, I am a business coach, or I'm a health coach, and there are millions of them out there.
Yeah.
How do you even distinguish?
I think you've got to know what makes you different. And what made us different was that we were about quality but easy to do business with, and that we were there to support the hiring manager. And there was a saying in our business that we need to make them look good, because of course they're an employee as well, and so we're their ally. Once you become adversarial in your relationship.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what happened. I was always really amazed by how some companies treated their clients as though they were adversaries,
Really?
Yeah, because, you're putting me through all this pain and you're asking me to do all these things and I'm really resenting you for doing that and all this kind of stuff. Whereas we were there like saying, no, actually, we're there to make you look good. We're your ally. We're going to help you. So whatever you're asking of us, if we can do it, we're going to do it. So we were really responsive. We were really willing. You think these are basic things, but actually it's quite interesting how people get in their own way and they can get quite defensive, right? So we didn't have that. We were very open. If people gave us feedback, I'll say, okay, well, what can we do to change? Or what could we do better? Or what could we were always open to hearing that feedback and we never got defensive about it. So I think it's quite an interesting thing if you're a health coach or a business coach, what makes you interesting and different, and are you really flexible or open, or do you know who you're serving, and are you really an ally to your customer, or are you sort of saying, well, this is it, take it or leave it? And that's okay too. If you're a take it or leave it kind of business, then your model's different. You're not customizing for your customers. You're doing a one-stop shop or and that's okay. Then you maybe charge less or whatever. But what is your commercial model? What is the thing?
In terms of, I'm looking at my questions and I'm thinking there are a few that we've already answered, but there was one that stood out for me, and that's, you were saying you nurtured people, but you were sales focused.
Very sales focused.
Can you dive into that? What is that? I love that because it's important to nurture people, but stay on point. Is that mainly for larger companies who have sales people, or is it will this advice apply to someone who's a solopreneur and still be able to nurture themselves or nurture like maybe their co-founder or maybe another person, but still be sales focused?
I think the sales focused thing is really important, and I do come across a lot of business owners that because they're really good at the thing that they're doing, they're not clear that they actually have to tell people about it. Like, you could be the world's best kept secret, right? And that's pointless. So you've actually got to sell. And selling to me is not like, I talked about cold calling. Yeah, that's the most kind of, confronting form of sales for most Kiwis, right? Because Kiwi really...
No one likes to do it.
They all talk about hating sales. But I don't think of it as sales. I think of it as, if you really believe in what you do and you want to help people do that, then you have an obligation to tell people about it, right? And that's sales. Yeah. That's just letting people know what you're offering. And if you just sit in your room waiting for the phone to ring, that's not going to happen, or, whatever it is. So sales can be many different things. It's just making sure that you understand the sales activity you need to invest in that returns the best for your type of industry or service, right? So if it's coaching or whatever it is, then you've got to get in front of people in those marketing channels and talk about it and show people what you do. Maybe you need to go and do some complimentary sessions for somebody so you can get testimonials before and afters, that kind of thing. That's sales. All of that is sales, right?
Gotcha.
So I think we maybe don't, we invest a lot in marketing, which is, when I talked about our website being great and having our logo and ads, display ads, that's marketing, right? Sales is tactical. Sales is in the now. What are you actually doing task-wise to produce sales? Phone calls, reach outs, emails, all of that kind of stuff. Collaborating with other people in a similar industry. How can we co-create a product or service that actually is relevant to both of our audiences? Do I need to do some speaking? Do I need to go and offer my services to, go and try and get in front of businesses that industry sectors, maybe industry bodies that I serve? Do I go to their conference and offer to do free speaking, which is profile building, and then offer sales is offering a tactical offer right there, 50% off if you register now, or whatever it is, right?
Okay.
Getting their database, calling those people, that's sales. And I just think that business owners who don't understand that really struggle. And then they wonder why they don't have revenue and they're not successful. So that's a services business. For products, that's a different conversation. Like that is that's all the things, with the whole Shopify thing or e-commerce, really understanding e-commerce and really understanding the whole funnels and, how big is my funnel at the top? What do I need to do to get people through the funnel? How do I get people to buy, click now, all these sorts of things. That's a whole different sales journey. And understanding that is really key as well, because the marketing cost required is so expensive. If you don't understand your conversion and all those numbers, you can sink a whole lot of money and lose a whole lot of money.
So you were quite focused with your sales?
Very focused. I mean, the Yellow Pages is as focused as you can get.
Is this what you only did, or did you go out and talk about recruitment and teach people things and speak?
We had a lot of, as I said, older clients come back to us who knew us. We did go out and do lots of client appointments, through our cold calling and outreach. We didn't have email campaigns back then, but we did a lot of, because you didn't know about that kind of marketing. But we did do, phone calls, going out to see people, pitching for government and local government and other contracts, and doing lots of presentations.
And of course, as the sales increased, your cash increased.
Yeah.
And you talk about how important cash is.
Yes.
You need to understand your cash. How did you understand the impact of cash and make sure that you understand your financials and, revenue? I have a note here that says revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king.
Yeah.
So I know it's a big topic, and I don't want to get too much into it, but
there's some really basic things that you can do, right? So if you don't know what your operating costs are, you better find out. How much does it cost for me to actually run my business and deliver on my products and services? Like, what does it actually cost me? And what are my monthly overheads? So it's pretty basic, right? So monthly overheads, fixed costs, what are my variable costs? And then what revenue do I need to cover those costs? Because obviously the revenue and cost, revenue minus costs is the difference is margin and profit, right? Gross profit. So I really break it down really simply for people. Understand your revenue, understand what is your cost to deliver your products and services. There's your gross profit. Take out all your other things, your interest cost or whatever, and then you come out with net profit and tax obligations. So if you don't know those numbers, you better know them. And then the second thing is, from a cash perspective, when you look at cash flow forecasts, what are your payment terms? How long is it, when you sell something, how long does it take for the money to come back into your company? And in that intervening time, if your weekly costs exceed your cash coming in, you're in a cash suck, right? You've got a cash hole somewhere. So how do you work that out? And, there's courses you can do. There's a lot of courses around just improving your terms of business, terms of trade. Like, it's an artificial contract to say, pay me on the 20th of the month. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I think that's really silly.
Yeah.
Or
pay me in 7 days, please.
Yeah.
Or pay me half up front and the other half of whatever.
Or pay me now.
Or pay me now.
Because if I want to go and buy salt from the supermarket, I'm not going to pay 50%.
No.
And then we'll pay them later.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to pay the whole $3 or $4.
Exactly.
So that's another thing I wanted to ask you about. Can you do that? Like, if you're a service-based company or even product, or maybe more service. Maybe we're talking to the coaches, maybe, or even the speakers. Yeah. Maybe coaches, health coach.
Yeah.
They would want to offer the health coaching service.
Yep.
Ask for the money in advance and all of it. And then you would offer maybe even a year's worth or even 6 months worth. Is that okay?
Well, there's the interesting thing about services is that when you buy the salt, you've got the salt, right? Whereas with services, you haven't had the service delivered yet, so you don't really know if it's going to be good or bad, okay?
Gotcha.
Because if you upfront pay it and then it's terrible, then you're like, okay, well, I want my money back,
refunds.
Refunds and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this is why subscription services have come into play, right? So if I subscribe to a service for 6 months, but I can or a monthly service, I can cancel my subscription anytime. And that's the same with membership services. Like, if you're my business coach or my health coach, and maybe I am a member of your health business and every month you give me whatever you're meant to be giving me and I like it, then I can stay being a member, right? But if I don't like what you do, then I can just cancel my membership, right? So that's why gym memberships, health coach memberships, community groups, that kind of stuff exists.
Works,
because you do get the money every month and it's covering your costs and all that thing. So that's a really good model, right?
Yes, yeah.
But I think to ask people to pay up front for a service they've never experienced is hard. I think that you would find that, unless you're famous, then that would be difficult.
I want to ask one of the last questions on the pod, and that's about the exit from Madison.
Yes.
And if a business is running really well and it's going from strength to strength and it's growing, why would you exit?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we weren't going to, because it was running really well. We only went in once a month for a board meeting and everybody else was running the business for us and it was highly profitable. So we weren't. We were very happy for it to just keep going like that for, however long.
Yeah.
The issue was that the number just kept getting bigger and bigger for that they were offering us. So in the end it was like, oh yeah, okay, maybe it's worth it now. So, but I think the other thing is that regardless of whether or not you're going into the business every day, it's with you every day. The pressure and the stress, and I think the thing about running a business is that there's only so much you can control. So at the moment, the environment's pretty tough out there, and it doesn't. And I'm saying to my clients, look, just do what you, in your sphere of control, do the best you can do, right? And that is, making sure your costs are fit for purpose for the level of service that you're delivering or the product. So just do the things you can do. Try and sell as much as you can. Hustle. Be seen, and be a good leader. But actually, the environment is out of your control. And I think that's one of the things that we always thought about was, well, we're running a really good business, but we don't know what is going to come down the pipe. And luckily, it was, we weren't around when COVID hit. But something like COVID comes along, we were there when the GFC was, so we'd experienced the GFC, right? And we couldn't control that. That just was visited on us.
Did it impact you badly?
And actually, the year that it hit, we broke even and think we made a small profit. And the following year was one of the best years we ever had.
Oh, really?
So it was
really
just
good
because we just really tightened up on our costs and all of that, right?
Because a lot of people would think, a lot of companies and businesses would think, I don't really want to hire anymore. I'm actually want to fire.
Yeah, no, we because we were so diversified in our services and products, we had a lot of people hiring temps instead, and so our businesses went through the roof. And
so that's key, which is I'm going to touch on it finally, because I think we can talk here.
Yeah, a long time.
Diversifying, speaking to that, and how did that help you? And then what can whoever's listening going, I want to learn how to diversify. How does that look like?
So I think in any industry there is almost a model, commercial model that makes sense. And in our industry, I always say to recruitment companies, you need to have at least 60% recurring revenue and temporary staffing was recurring revenue. It was our version of recurring revenue. And so we actually were closer to more 50-50, like 55%, 60% temporary recurring revenue, and the rest was permanent fees, placement fees. And I think every industry must have something like that. Like, how can you in your business create some kind of recurring revenue? And because if all your business is just one-off costs, fees, structures, that's really hard for you to build value into your business if you ever want to sell it. Okay. And then some businesses, they are the person, and they'll never be saleable because the business value is linked to the founder. And that's fine, as long as the founder's happy with that and knows it and earns a good living and extracts value while they have the business, that's fine too. But if you want to grow something, you need to have a look at your commercial model and say, okay, how do we diversify? What services and products can we offer that are different and make sense for my business, that make me more valuable, and not all my eggs in one basket?
I did lie. I do have one more question. It keeps going. No, I promise this is going to be the last question. A mistake that you've made in business that you were very
there've been a few
upset about. Yes, very upset about it, and it was really profound that you I can't believe I made that, or really was really impactful.
Yeah, well, we talk about business partners, right? So I've had 2 really good business partners. So Winnis and the one I'm in business with now with the powder coating factory, coating lab, and Borean's great. I launched a skincare product with a business partner, and that did not go well. And I think it was, again, being impulsive. I met her on a conference. I'd been away in Australia. We got on really well, but what I didn't understand was the value set was very different, and the way that we thought about things were different. And so it didn't go well, understanding commercial realities, and it was just a very skewed view on capital introduced to the business and versus sweat equity and all this kind of stuff. So we weren't on the same page with those kind of things. So one of the biggest mistakes, I think, is investing in things that you don't know enough about, or going into partnership with somebody you don't know well. And I'd worked with Winnis for a couple of years. Borean I met through Entrepreneurs Organisation, and we got to know each other well there. So just not knowing your business partner well and not really understanding what drives them, value sets. And I think or investing in things you don't, or starting something you don't really know enough about.
Such valuable advice. I can ask you a trillion more questions, but it's been such an honor to have you on the pod. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mina. It's been wonderful.
Appreciate it, and all the best to your work. How can people find you and find out more about you if you want to share a link or 2?
Sure. Probably for female founders, it would be www.reamped.com. So Reamped is RE-AMPD. It's great spelling. Let's make it really difficult for people to find us. And then I have, the LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn and connect with me there.
It's been fantastic having you. Thank you for your advice and all your vision for the future. All the best.
Thank you so much, Mina.
Thank you.